So, today we have Eric Ma. He's a data scientist at Moderna. He works at the intersection of artificial intelligence and biology. But what actually drew me to his work, and that's how I got to know about him, because beyond the lab, he is widely known in the open source community for his contributions to Python, network science, and for being the generous mentor that he is to scientists and engineers all around the world. Even on a side note, when I wanted to learn about the graphs and the graph neural networks, I actually learned it from his GitHub. And I did not go to his GitHub like purposely, I stumbled upon it. And I have not seen a more clear tutorial than that, which actually explains the concepts of what we are doing and why we are doing. So, today we have him and we are going to actually, dive deep into his thought process of how he actually get to be there where he is. So, I'm really excited. So, let's go. So, hi Eric, how are you?
Not bad. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again too. And thank you so much for taking out time for us and joining us on the podcast. Can you
Yeah.
introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, I'm Eric. I work at Moderna. I used to be at Novartis. Did grad school many years ago, finished in 2017,
Okay.
started in 2011. Had a very tumultuous time there, but walked into the back door, walked out through the front door. Okay, yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
that. Biological engineering. That was the topic of my department that I was in.
Ah, okay. So like you did your PhD in biomedical engineering, so it was all the biology and the computational biology, right?
It was biological engineering, not biomedical. So
Oh,
the department actually has a very unique way of positioning itself.
okay.
It is not biomedical applications. It is engineering of using biology as the substrate.
Ah,
Just as chemical engineering is engineering using chemistry as the substrate,
yeah.
and mechanical engineering is engineering using mechanics as the substrate, or electrical engineering uses moving electrons as the substrate, right? So like that's the definition of biological engineering.
Ah, okay,
Different way to think about it.
that's a nuance I never actually thought of that way.
Hmm.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
okay. So first thing I want to ask you is that, you have been in the field for so long because you finished your PhD in 2017 and you started in 2011, as you just mentioned. So how do you feel about the path you have traversed so far, and how do you see your trajectory evolving in the field, and how you see yourself, evolving as a scientist? So how do you see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. You can't predict anything. That's what I've come to learn.
Okay.
15 years ago, I thought I'd be a bench scientist doing synthetic biology. Here
Yeah.
I am wrangling computers and data instead. 10 years ago, I thought I'd be a flu person or infectious disease person.
Okay.
That didn't pan out. I'm wrangling data instead. Um, 5 years ago, I thought I would continue to be an individual contributor and be happy for a long time.
Yeah.
That didn't pan out. I'm a manager now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I found is you can't really predict what might happen in the future. Um, it's still useful to have 5-year plans, but you should never plan for those plans to pan out. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so you just mentioned that, your plans changed throughout the way and you learned that, the plans will change. But what was the first thing that actually led you to computational biology? Because you thought that you would be a
Yeah.
bench scientist and today you are a data scientist. So
Yeah.
what led to that change?
Um, so when I was in my first 2 years, well, I've always had a knack with computers, just never learned programming formally.
Yeah.
So, um, especially during undergrad years, I didn't have the confidence to take the computer science and microbiology double major.
Hmm.
There's a combined major, sorry, not double major, combined major. I didn't have the confidence to do the computational side. Um, and in retrospect, maybe I should have discovered that a little earlier. So it was when I switched advisors in 2012 or 2013, sorry. That's when I um, decided and realized I'm not suited to the bench. I have no patience for even bacterial experiments,
Yes.
which are the fastest turnaround time that you
Yes.
can think of in biology. So, better to instead move into, well, the other option was like, let's do some computational work. And so I did a bit of a deep dive and with my new advisor explored ways to use computation to study flu systematically.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. That's how I decided I'll move into computation.
Wow. And since then, it has always been, following your knack and been in the
Yeah.
computation. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I
It's
can,
kind of it's kind of like a follow what was interesting kind of a thing, both practically useful and interesting.
yes. I,
Yeah.
I think I can relate to you because being myself a computational scientist, I have no patience when I'm over the bench.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so that's like,
Yeah.
I think all the bioinformaticians are very impulsive. They just need
Hmm.
to do stuff fast and they have lack of
Hmm.
patience.
Hmm. Hmm.
And also, I want to ask you today, a lot of people, describe themselves as bioinformaticians or computational biologists. And this profession is comparatively very new to the wet lab scientists that have always been there to the bench work they do. I
Hmm.
actually want to know, how do you actually describe a bioinformatician? Normally, now everybody is doing some kind of bioinformatics analysis. Okay, and when you actually see people, okay, you are a bioinformatician, okay, what do you do? I just ran a pipeline and I know this, how to do that. And
Hmm.
how do you actually describe a bioinformatician or a computational biologist?
Okay. If you are a scientist, like the broader term is you are a computational scientist of the biological flavor,
Yeah.
which means if you're a scientist, you should not be a pipeline monkey.
Yeah.
That's the first piece. Um, Scientists should be driven by an intense and deep curiosity of the things that are around them,
Yeah.
whether it is the problem at hand, the tools at hand, etc. If all you're doing is just not, if you're not following that curiosity and solving problems mm, that are related to biology, then that's an exclusion criteria, I guess you could say, for like, I shouldn't call myself a bioinformatician, or I shouldn't call myself a data scientist, or I shouldn't call myself a computational biologist.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't see any reason to um, gatekeep that term necessarily, right? Like every in the long run, generalists are the ones who win out, and I think if you're able to do bash scripting, writing software, designing experiments, and not analyzing them, presenting them, etc., having that range is what you need to be able to do your job. And your job as a computational biologist of the computational flavor just means that you use computers more than overwhelmingly more than you would use a
Yeah.
pipette, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting way to think it about, but because I think that like in our last conversation you mentioned that curiosity drives whatever you do. So if you're
Mm.
writing a pipeline and if it's curiosity driven, you can be a bioinformatician or you can be a computational
Yeah,
biologist.
you're solving a problem.
Yes. And
Hmm.
okay, so now you did your graduate school and then you switched to industry. And
Hmm.
always you get to hear that there is a very stark difference in the way problems are solved in the two settings.
Hmm.
So how do you see that? Like you also noticed that the problems you were solving in both the settings became different, or the way you solve them is different in both the settings?
Well, fundamentally, the nature of the questions are different.
Okay.
Industry questions are not pure curiosity driven.
Okay.
Academic questions are much more leaning towards driven by pure curiosity. So,
Yeah.
for example, um, my thesis was on a scalable method for discovering all reassortant influenza viruses and then analyzing their implication and correlation with host species jumps, which had been hypothesized but like and shown on small scale data but never systematically shown.
Okay.
Uh, so that didn't have any real practical implications.
Yeah.
Maybe there was like a second order or third order effect that would be useful, but not really pragmatically useful or anything for anything, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so that's I guess one. Um, yeah, that is one difference that I see. Industry questions, research questions are very much driven by a goal that has a return on investment.
Yeah.
And then your curiosity, you're allowed to follow your curiosity and on how you achieve that goal, right? Less
Yeah.
so about like what is the answer to the question, but like how are we gonna what is the answer to this question that has not necessarily any practical purpose that
Yeah.
is academia. But it could be of scientific use. We
Yes.
just don't know. Versus what is the method by which we're going to achieve this thing we have this goal that we set out to achieve that has an ROI
Yeah.
and it happens to use the tools of scientific inquiry.
Ah, okay. I understand now. So they are
Yeah,
mostly like, so it's like in industry, you try to answer a question and you also have to get a profit out of it, right? Basically, it's,
ideally, yeah.
yeah. So, okay, okay, so this actually reminds me of one of the podcasts I have had, and there it was mentioned that because in academia, the research is not, it's very fundamental research and it does not have a direct implication, right? So, actually, that is a kind of a demotivating factor
For
that
some,
yeah, I mean, so was it like that for you ever? Because you don't know that okay, so tomorrow I do this experiment and it is successful. Okay, I achieved what I wanted, but okay, what is the use of it? And we're not able to see that long-term use. So, did you ever feel like that in your research when you were doing a PhD?
not really, because I didn't really focus on the negatives.
Okay.
My thesis not having much use um, wasn't a thing that bothered me because I think I was actively learning computation,
Okay.
and so the skill stuff, picking up and learning new things while still working towards not discovering a piece of knowledge that might be new was good enough. And I think that should be good enough for grad students.
Yeah.
Um, it's just that you don't want to, if your goal is to move into the industrial world and unleash your talents in the industry, you can't just be stuck in that mode. That's all. Like it's okay to enjoy that mode while you're in grad school, but don't get stuck there once you're out in industry. That's all.
Okay. And like you mentioned that, the people who want to switch to industry should not be stuck there. I mean, did you actually decide early on that you were switching to industry, or was it with the flow that, you get out of grad school or something like that? So how does
No,
that happen?
don't make choices by default. Like
Okay.
go with the flow is not a good way to go.
Okay.
Um, you, I knew one thing that I ruled out, which is postdocing for another professor. So
Hmm.
that I ruled out. Um, Instead, I chose one of I only allowed two routes for myself.
Okay.
Um, a research organization in the local Cambridge industry,
Hmm.
um, or a super postdoc, which gave you your own funding,
Okay.
but you didn't, and no teaching responsibilities, and you kind of just like pursue those ideas. I got turned down from every super postdoc that I applied for.
Okay.
So then, uh, the uh, the other option was also then just go to industry, and was pretty picky with where I wanted to go. Um, Eventually, I ended up at NIBR because it's a great first environment for people fresh out of grad school. There's a wealth of a breadth, sorry, not a wealth. There's a breadth of scientific problems being pursued at Novartis, and it really is for someone coming fresh in, it can be a scientific playground, right?
Yeah.
Um, Lots of cool scientific problems happening there. At the same time, it's not academic, right? So you taste and see the need for like of corporate life, so to speak, the need for goals, the need for OKRs, and that sort of thing, stuff that you don't have in grad school.
Yeah.
Um, then, um, but then of course it's got its own downsides. It's a very slow moving organization. It's
Yeah.
big. There's lots of people. All the warts that come with a big organization are not it should not be surprising to anyone, right? Like that's yeah.
That's quite a nice way that you already knew that you what you wanted to do. Because
Yeah.
so because most of the people when they're in their grad school they don't really know what to do. So they figure it out when they're already out of it, and
Mm-hmm.
then the only option left is go with the flow. Whatever you
Right.
get, just take it. So
Right.
okay, so in the grad school, do you think that the PhD students or the graduate students are given enough, like how do I put it? Like, are given enough training so that they're aware how to make that switch from academia to industry, or how do they transfer their skills to industry? Because when I see the job qualifications now, they are like, we want this and that, and now I don't know how do I mold my training to be fit into that place, because I know what they want, I have it, but I just don't know how to mold my skills to be fit into that organization. So, how do you see about that? That do we have enough training, or what we can do more to to switch to a career like that?
So I think first off, there is not enough training, and secondly, there should not be that kind of training in grad school. I'm a contrarian to those who think that PhDs are just another factory for industry because that is not the purpose of a PhD. You do doctoral training to learn how to become a scientist. It is an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
You go in as a highly motivated individual who is high agency.
Hmm.
I think what PhD students should learn to do is to take their careers into their own hands and do things like go talk with other people that they know, go find out whom they can learn, right?
Yeah.
um, then of course, if you follow Dean Lee on LinkedIn, um,
Yeah.
he's got all the posts and resources that you'll need ever. I don't
Yeah.
think I need to say more than say go read Dean Lee's posts.
Yeah.
Um, he'll have the right opinions for how to pursue how to structure your career, and yeah, career guidance, how to structure your job search, the non-traditional creative ways of like looking rather than blasting applications and the
Yeah.
likes, right? Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that PhD is very important? PhD is the deciding factor. Like if you want to enter industry, or for that matter, if you want to enter research, so you need to have a PhD. And because there are so many scientists that don't have a PhD, but they have so many years of experience and they are at the same position as a PhD is. So do you think PhD is a stepping stone, or gives you an edge, you know, in
It-
stepping?
yeah, it will shortcut the time that it takes for you to learn to be a scientist.
Okay.
All right. There are a lot of RAs who graduate who, because of the time pressures, the pressures of life, during their work in industry, they do not learn how to make judgments, take scientific calls, and move things forward.
Yeah.
They remain stuck in very local thinking,
Yeah.
which doesn't help, right? Like it doesn't help that if the way that you think doesn't help um, advance things and move things forward, it's harder to justify moving you into a role where you can
Yeah.
make those judgment calls and rely on your scientific judgment more routinely, right?
Yes. True.
So doctoral training is valuable if you take matters into your own hands
Yeah.
and make scientific judgment calls about, like, okay, this is how we're going to write it. This is how we're going to write the paper,
Yeah.
regardless of what my advisor is saying, right?
Yeah.
This is how the experiment needs to be designed, because that is the actual question we're trying to go after,
Yeah.
regardless of what my advisor is saying,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, like, doctoral training is the time to pick up that level of independence and thinking, which
Mm.
is very hard. Very few people do that walking out with a master's or an undergrad.
Yeah.
And even if they do, it takes a longer time to achieve that level of independence out in the workforce,
Mm.
because you have your regular OKRs, you get pigeonholed into doing one particular routine task. It's just not, you get comfortable, you don't want to like challenge yourself, becomes
Yeah.
harder.
Yeah, that actually, yeah, means, I mean, that's what it is. Like PhD is a journey in itself where you see that your scientific endeavors or critical thinking evolves. At first, you are under, because I feel that when I started my PhD, I was pretty much under the shadow of my supervisor. I used to follow what he says, and
Mm-hmm.
now I am like, okay, I think it is not done in this way. I'll most probably try what you say, but I'll also try what I want to do, and
Mm-hmm.
let's just see what works out.
Right, right,
Maybe there will be a time when I will be like, okay, this is what I want to do. So
right,
now I do
right.
that. Okay. And okay, so
Essentially, sorry, Ishita, I think it's essentially what you want, the place you want to be at is that the place where you can anticipate your advisor's judgment, preempt it, and either say you've already done it, or you've already figured out why he's wrong or she is wrong.
yeah,
Right? Yeah.
that's true that. And actually, that actually also comes because you spend so much of your time with your supervisor, because 5 years we are in the grad school, and probably after, it's like you have spent now 1.5 year, 2 years having meetings and everything with them, just
Yep.
knowing what are they gonna respond. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And I have this question, and I've pretty much asked it myself and read about it almost all the time on LinkedIn, on different sites, that
Yep.
this artificial intelligence boom is coming up. And the thing that they say is that now artificial intelligence is gonna drive the scientific discoveries,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna reduce the work for the bench scientist, as well as it's gonna take the job of the scientist as well. So do you think that we are in that road of the artificial intelligence driven discoveries?
That one's a hard one to answer, because there are demos that I've heard of that show um, kind of a glimmer or promise of the ability to, like, the use of AI tooling,
Mhm.
which really just means very high performance search and retrieval across vast literature, coupled with tricks in how you take an LLM to generate text. You put those two together and you can get the mirage of very high performing intelligence.
Yeah.
And I think there's one thing, even for me as like someone who develops with AI and builds AI tools and the likes, I still subscribe to this one thing, which is LLMs are hallucinating 100% of the time. They are just correct a small percentage of that time.
Okay.
Okay? Which means the nature of how LLMs currently work means they are guaranteed to hallucinate. There's no way out. We will have, if we rely on LLMs solely, we are putting ourselves in a position where the strength of the human cannot be unleashed
Yeah.
versus what the strength of an LLM are, right? If you think about the strength of an LLM and other agentic systems versus what we have for what a human it has,
Yeah.
LLMs are very good at generating plausibly sounding text very quickly.
Yes.
They can be steered quite reliably, but not 100% reliably, to generate text that appears to solve a problem.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you still want a human in the loop
Yeah.
to exercise judgment. So that actually means, sure, the number of people that we need to solve a specific problem goes down, but I think it also means that the number of people available to solve the number of problems that could be solved by people goes up.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that definitely. That's
Yeah,
so it's gonna be like the number of people per project will decrease, but the amount of projects will definitely increase because now you have more people
yeah.
but they're available, right? And I have this question also from you that now scientists are also using this artificial intelligence, and there was an article sometime back which talks about the illusion of breadth. So it's like scientists think they know more than they actually do because they are using so much of artificial intelligence in their research. So it's like they ask a question from, let's say, ChatGPT, and it gives you 10 ways. So you go along okay, so you might explore all the 10 ways, but you just explored those 10 ways and didn't explore an 11th one, which you might have if not for this LLM or artificial intelligence. Do you think that this can be a major problem in future because scientists are all about creativity?
Yep,
So,
yep. It can be a problem. In fact, the anec this the sorry, what is it called? It's not an anecdote. It's there are studies that have been conducted that showed that when paired with an LLM, humans who humans who first attempt a problem before reaching for an LLM end up end up being able to generate more diverse solutions that are also feasible, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the study link. So I think this one it might have been conducted by Booz Allen Hamilton, one of the consultancies, bigger consultancies out there, or the BCG group, whichever, one of the two. Regardless, when trying to solve a problem, specialists who try to solve the problem first before reaching for an LLM will generally perform better at solving the problem. I notice that is true for myself. When there's a nuisance problem I don't really care about, I just want to get it done. Then if I reach for an LLM first, I'll get the job done, but I don't really remember much about what I did.
yeah,
On the other hand, there's a problem that I deeply care about, and I try to solve it first without reaching for an LLM, design the solution, etc. Then I actually can I'm actually better at um, using an LLM or using agentic coding tools more precisely to go and solve the problem in such a way that one, I remember what I did, and two, it is elegant and up to my standards and taste. It is
yeah,
not AI generated slop. And
yeah,
three, it follows like good engineering practices, etc. Like it's documented, it's refactored, it's tested, etc., etc.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's my take. That's my take. There's always a there will always need be a need for human creativity.
Yes. So yeah, I mean that's so do you think that we should have any any regulations because science is all about creativity. And if scientists are just not even panning out their options and just depending upon what an LLM gives you, so we are just hindering the novelty of research in the first place because you are dependent upon an LLM for your ideas. So do you think that we should have any kind of, what can I say? Any regulations in that way that okay, you should not be using artificial intelligence at least for getting the creative ideas. And in the first place, not at all, maybe.
Well, that's going to be hard, right? How are you going to enforce that? All regulations need enforcement.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it, but it's hard to, just implement it in any setting right now.
Yep. There are ways to influence outcomes. Regulations are a form of legal control. There are technological controls.
Yeah.
Then there are social nudges. There's education. There's a lot of ways to solve this problem, I think. Haven't thought too deeply about it, so maybe I won't pontificate.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I have been thinking about it because there was this article that I read, and I was like, yeah, that's actually true for some problems that even I do, and
Hmm.
I just want to do a plotting, like a fancy
Hmm.
plot I need for some post, and I would not put my brain a lot to it. I would be like, okay, I've analyzed the data and I want 10 different presentations. I would put it to an LLM and like, give me 10 different presentations and I see which one I like. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was there. But actually then I realized that it's not a very good thing to do for me because then I'm not panning out myself a lot into seeing that how the library is working, even if it has put the right data to right place in the plot. So that's what I was thinking. Also, I want
Well,
to know.
actually, there's a thing here, right? Like I've never used polars until this year for data frame manipulation.
Oh,
Um, and polars has an almost similar but not identical syntax to pandas, so it's very easy to get tripped up.
okay.
What I found is, yes, I can use an AI coding AI sorry agentic coding system to help me spit out the code that I need to do to get my job done.
Okay.
But if I sit down and actually read that code
Mhm.
and then make the effort to cross check it against documentation, that's still okay. I'm learning,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So the 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 thing to solve for is human laziness. The thing to not solve for, I think, is like access to the tools,
Yeah.
uh, because we've already got access to high power tools. Just need to
Yeah.
get around laziness, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just rechecking or maybe just understanding what the LLM has written. You are still knowing that what it has done to generate whatever it has given you out there. For
Yeah.
example, I was using ScanPy some time
Yeah.
ago for my single cell analysis, and it told me that okay, you are going to output nothing from this because it outputs nothing. And then I was like, okay, no, you are wrong. I went to the documentation of the tool, and it says if I set this parameter to a value, the output will be there. And
Right.
LLM, just told me that I was wrong, and I'm like, okay, you are not understanding. So.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm like, I don't know if you're hallucinating or what is the case with you, but you're definitely wrong there.
Right.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I just want to ask you that I'm a bioinformatician, and if I tomorrow want to switch to industry,
Yep.
if I want to make my way there, what are the skills that I should have? For example, when you mentioned that, the number of people will decrease, of course, because the number of people required will decrease, but I want to be in the people that are still there and existing in the field. How do I
Yeah.
actually, level up myself there? What skills I should have?
Um, Intimately understanding how laboratory experiments are done will
Yeah.
make you infinitely more valuable than the bajillion masters of data science and masters of bioinformatics students that are being pumped out by universities right now.
Okay.
So, and in fact, compared to most PhD students, you can assume who are in a bioinformatics program hone their craft really well, but don't have any dynamic range with understanding how a laboratory experiment needs to be designed, where the controls are supposed to be, what the controls are supposed to be, where they're supposed to be placed on a plate, what are the confounding factors in measurement,
Yeah.
what are the limitations with sampling, Poisson statistics, and the likes. You need to know it. You need to give yourself as much dynamic range as possible.
Okay.
Um, and I'm going to list out a list of things that I think are critical that I look out for from computational scientists and data scientists. And then I'm going to give you a method that I think I've recently been reading about that has resonated really hard, called ultra learning, to go and pick it all up. Um, so there's a wide dynamic range of skills that I think are very useful to have. One, experiment design. Two, probabilistic modeling. And I'm intentionally not saying statistics, because statistics, you can also fall easily into this trap of doing lazy stats and
Yeah.
not really thinking hard about your data generating model. So probabilistic modeling is the next one. Physical modeling, if you can, will become a very handy tool to wield. um, the ability to write clean code.
Yeah.
I don't mean writing software packages. I mean writing clean code,
Yeah.
right? um, if you can make a package, even better,
Okay.
right? The people that I've been most impressed by, they have written Python packages during their grad school.
Yeah.
One, and they've just taken the time, right? It's a it's it's a thing that signals craft
Yeah.
and care, um, compared to a collection of scripts that are haphazardly organized.
True.
Same goes for documentation, right? Like
Yeah.
good documentation on your publicly facing code repositories.
Yeah.
Another mark of craftsmanship and care taken on your work. Um, see what else is there. Quality, right? Yeah. Uh, your ability to communicate with laboratory scientists. I
Okay.
actually wrote a blog post recently, how to communicate with laboratory scientists when you're the data person.
Yeah.
Um, that one, many reflections from multiple years of working and trying to communicate with them. You got to understand what their concerns are. There's always a concern behind the question,
Yeah.
right? That is not stated, the latent concern. You want to be able to understand what they're really asking about.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes all they really care, like they're asking you a whole bunch of questions on power, etc., and really what they're caring about is like, will I have to run twice as many samples, or can I get away with fewer? Because twice as many is very laborious, right?
Yes.
So
Exactly.
yeah, that's why I'm asking about power, so I can answer, that I can decide how many samples I actually need, right?
Yeah.
So you got to understand that, right? um I think for me it helped that I was in the lab once. I pipetted once for 5 years, undergrad through grad school. For
Yes.
5 years I was in the lab, so I knew what it was like to do, how laborious laboratory experiments were. So communication skills are going to be really important. And I think in an age of AI, written skills are more important than PowerPoint skills,
Yeah.
because you can create a flywheel effect if you have your stuff written down and used to ground an LLM for future stuff.
Ah, okay. So,
Yeah.
when you say that the people have written Python packages, so these Python packages, like you say that, you value the crafts, you value the craft that they have put into that. So, for example, if somebody has written a Python package for some side project, let's say they were doing, which has nothing to do with the work they were doing in their PhD, so you still consider it, or like it has to be in sync with what they have done in their PhD
doesn't
or to the
doesn't
project?
doesn't have to be your PhD stuff, but the way that you package up your work, and I mean that in the sense of how you write your README and how you organize your code, tells a lot about how much you care about the thing,
Ah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, and also how you write your README and how you explain what your thing is tells me whether you have a good sense of taste for code design, and whether you're able to communicate the utility of the thing that you're doing, because every tool that you build has to solve someone's problem,
Yes.
has to solve a problem. There has to be a job to be done. Clayton Christensen, in the books Innovators Dilemma, um, Innovators DNA, Innovators Dilemma, Innovator Solution, those are very good books to read. um, there has to be a job to be done.
Okay.
If you're not solving someone's job, or if you don't know what job you're solving, that will be reflected in your
Code.
documentation, in your code,
Yeah.
right?
True.
So I would strongly recommend, like take the time and effort to package up your work.
Yeah.
um, If you know how to make a Python package, then that means you understand how Pythonistas idiomatically work.
Yeah.
We
True.
import someone else's stuff and then we start to use it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna read those books that you mentioned. I've never heard of these books. So that's
Hmm.
Innovators DNA, Innovators Llama, right?
Dilemma,
Dilemma. Okay.
dilemma, and solution.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna read those because I myself am struggling with this. I have an idea in mind. I made the packet, I made the script, but I just don't know how to package it, and that's why I went into reading the Fluent Python. That was a book
Yep.
to understand
Yep.
the nuances, and it was like, okay, let me just go to the basic and not
Yep.
import the stuff and also understand it. And
Yep.
I want to ask this one last question to you. If you are given a chance to go back and maybe, do one thing different or do one thing differently, what would you do that would be different?
I would have mastered, well, I would have picked up computing earlier,
Okay. That,
probably in like 2006, 2007,
okay.
when I
Why?
was in undergrad.
Yeah.
I would have really gone hard into computing because I've taken a very circuitous route to
Okay.
computing. That said, if I didn't do all of that lab work, mouse work, microscopy,
Yeah.
pipetting,
Yeah.
staining slides, cell culture, PCR, you name it, I've done it all. Just haven't done a next gen sequencing. That's the only thing I've not done. Well, I
Okay.
haven't done mass spec either.
Yeah.
Um, but most of the molecular biology and biochemistry techniques that exist touch those methods.
Yeah.
If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be in a place where I can really speak with laboratory
Yes.
scientists effectively,
Yeah.
right?
It's true.
Even now, like I interface with analytical chemists, I sometimes don't have a good mental model, sorry, for how to speak and approach them. And that comes from not having done analytical chemistry work, right?
True that.
Yeah.
So,
Something to think about.
yeah. So you mean
But
for,
I would have done computation earlier
yeah.
because um, computation helped me to learn math.
Oh, yeah.
I'm bad with algebra, very sloppy with algebra, and for that reason, I've never scored exceedingly well on math classes. Like
Okay.
I'd get like A minus, B plus
Yeah.
usually, like 80 out of 100, 85 out of 100, but never in the 95 to hundreds, right? So I always Asian failed my math class. Um, the but once I learned how to program, then I never had to track algebraic symbols anymore.
Correct.
That algebraic symbols and signage, like plus versus minus, or like
Yeah.
exponent versus square, whatever, those were the things that always tripped me up in math class. But I learned math much more effectively with computing. Could master graph theory, gradients, calculus, backprop was all calculus. Um, once I once I probabilistic modeling led me to Bayesian statistics,
Yeah.
and I learned it all through computing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really. And thank you so much for joining in for the podcast. It really means a lot to me because,
yeah.
talking to somebody who has made it and where you see yourself or where you want to see yourself means a lot. And that's why it was such a meaningful conversation for me.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for reaching out and